Greetings, 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 everyone. How are y'all tonight?
Good. How are you, Professor?
I am hanging in there. Thank you. It is just a Tuesday, though. Hard to believe. Oh, Ashley, it's so nice to see you. I love seeing people. Thank you. Okay, so we're still shy of you people. So do I have any questions? Y'all all turned your proposals in. I hope to have them done by the weekend, where you'll have the weekend to work on them. We don't have class next Tuesday, but I will be here. So if you want to come to class and, work with your group in a breakout room, or if you have any questions about your PowerPoint presentation or any of those things, I will open this class up at the usual time on next Tuesday evening. You do not have to come. It is strictly up to you. If nobody shows up for the first 15 minutes or so, then I'll shut it down. But if you have any questions or want to visit about anything, I will be here. And of course, you can always email, text me, call me, whatever it takes, Pony Express, to get my information. Do I have any other questions? Like, I had a couple of students ask me, I am teaching both classes this summer, 417 and 457. It shows 2 instructors, but I am the instructor of record for those 2 classes. If you're interested in either one of those classes this summer. 417 is not writing intensive this summer. It will become writing intensive in the fall. And I will be teaching it probably in the winter session, but I don't teach it during the regular year. Okay, other questions? Anybody?
None at the moment.
Okay. Someone asked if, Katie asked about how many pages for the proposal. You have to answer the questions. I don't have a page number limit or a word limit. As long as the questions are answered, you're good. Okay, remember that you have on the, wait a minute, the proposal y'all turned in already. So we're talking about the PowerPoint. On the PowerPoint, as long as you get the information in there, remember it can only be, I think 25 minutes is what I said. And then what I believe I said either 20 to 25 or 25 to 30. I can't remember which. You need, I don't think I put a number on there. I think just as long as you get the information there and you fall within the time limit, you're good. Katie, is that good? Answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, sure. Okay. Let's see, what else do I need to, remember that you also have a, due with that is a needs assessment. And all the needs assessment is up to 10 questions. And what you're doing is you're trying to find out what your target group would like to have you provide for them. It's like the needs of the target group. You don't ever hand it out or anything. All you do is, I want you to have practice in creating one, and you have to submit that. That's part of the presentation, and it's described in the syllabus. Sometimes students forget about that. But it's things like, let's say you're opening up a pediatric clinic, and you might have a question like, what hours would you like for the pediatric clinic to be open? And the answers might be like 8 to 5, or it might be 5 to 9, or noon to 9. Give them choices. Those kinds of questions that you find out what your target market needs. There's really no right or wrong answers, but you just have to figure out how to create this needs assessment. Yes, 417, Sabrina, just became a writing intensive, but not until the fall.
Do you know if we can petition to make it previous? No, okay.
You can't, because the class is going to change completely. It'll still be the same information that is in it, but you're going to have to put about it like it's going to have a lot more writing in it than the current one. We have to meet I think it's 10,000 word count. Bummer, huh? Okay, Celeste, you will be in my class, but you won't get writing intensive credit. Okay, any other questions? Yeah, sorry, Sabrina. Well, I'm happy you're in my 457. I love 457. It's a fun class. Okay, I don't see any other questions. So here's what we're going to do tonight. I'm going to show y'all, I'm going to change up what we do a little bit. I'm going to show y'all a video. It's a little bit longer than normal that talks about promotion and marketing. It kind of sums up some of the main points of the chapter. And then because the chapter is pretty easy to understand, not anything real difficult in it, I decided that we do a little fun activity after the video that kind of sums up everything we've done so far in the marketing mix. It kind of gives you a fun thing to do. We're going to do an ice cream video. Ice cream worksheet that'll help you see how each part of the marketing mix makes a difference. Okay, let me see, is there anything else I need to tell y'all? I told y'all about that. Okay, all right, hopefully I can get this screen shared again. You can only hope for the best when it comes to this with me.
Well, in this short lecture, we're going to discuss the promotional mix. And we've discussed previously how the marketing mix, commonly referred to as the 4 Ps, essentially works. And we know that it's a strategy, of course, in different areas that companies and businesses need to consider as a way of positioning themselves to the extent that they want to be positioned in the minds of consumers. And the promotional piece is really one part of the 4 Ps. And so specifically, we're going to discuss how the company utilizes its promotions as a way of kind of bettering its overall position in the market. And so the promotional mix, we know, consists of how a company communicates with its audience and with its consumers. And so there's a number of different things that companies can leverage as a way of presenting itself in a certain light, of course, but also highlighting certain features and certain benefits of the different products and services that it produces. And so there are 4 elements of the promotional mix, and companies can use these to varying degrees as a way of enhancing their overall, at least how they're perceived in the particular market. Now remember, with all marketing aspects, the ultimate goal is to try and affect consumer purchase behavior. So ultimately, we are trying to get people to purchase our products and services or more of them. Some things just take longer than others. And so as we're reviewing the promotional mix, keep that in mind. Some of these elements may be more to inform people or to create a need, if you will, although some are more short-term and are designed to affect purchase behavior almost immediately from what we'll see. So let's highlight some of these different components here, and then we'll discuss them one by one. Now, the first element of the promotional mix, and by and large the most common one, simply because we see it day in and day out, is advertising. In advertising, we often have a lot of experience and exposure to, simply because it is so visible. You know, there isn't generally a moment during the day that we are not being advertised to in some way, shape, or form, whether it's product placement in television or movies, whether it's radio advertisements, whether it's advertisements on the internet, whether it's advertisements on television. You know, generally the only time that we are not being advertised to is when we're sleeping. Outside of that, you see a large number of advertisements geared towards trying to get us to purchase certain things. And so first off, how do we define advertising? There's a couple of components. Advertising is paid and non-personal communication at which an identified sponsor informs an audience about a product. And so paid, non-personal, at which an identified sponsor is informing an audience about a product. And so you might wonder, okay, what are these two elements that I have here? I wrote down paid and non-personal, and why are those important? Well, the first thing is advertising is delineated between such things as publicity or public relations because it is paid, meaning that a company is going to run an advertising campaign and it will essentially pay another company to run its particular advertisements, or pay a radio station to run an audio kind of advertisement, if you will, or pay a particular company who owns a website to show a banner ad or something similar. And so there is a paid element. So this is company sponsored, of course, but it's also non-personal. And what is meant by non-personal is you don't have the ability to interact with the ad. And by interact, what I mean is in some advertisements, particularly when we get to some of the others, is that you have the ability to tailor the message to the person individually. With advertisements, they're generally created for a mass audience, for a large number of people. And so by advertising, let's say on the Super Bowl, maybe you're paying $2.7 or $3.1 million for a 30-second spot, which is roughly what they go for nowadays. But if you divide that ultimately by the reach or the number of people that you are advertising to, on a per person basis, it's very, very small. It's actually pretty cost effective, but you have to be a larger corporation to have that type of budget for your marketing department. Now, it isn't tailored though to everyone that's watching, because depending upon how someone interacts with the advertisement, I can't necessarily change the message to meet the needs of that person. And so advertising generally is meant to inform people about certain products or services, to make it so that people recognize my brand because they see it more often. And generally, you see the companies that run advertisements, particularly during the Super Bowl, are usually well-known companies that are simply trying to make sure that their brands stay relevant and they stay up in front and they have a good brand image, if you will. So obviously, a lot of companies would not necessarily advertise during the Super Bowl simply because of the initial cost, even though on a per person basis, it might actually be lower in cost than some of the other forms of promotion that I'm actually going to go over here. Now, there are a number of different choices of media, of course, and they all have different costs. So I went over, obviously, the aspect of television advertising and how that can employ a cost. But you can go through a number of different other advertisements, whether they're print, like magazines or newspapers, whether it's online advertising. There's a number of different opportunities that you have to actually go ahead and advertise this way. Now, the next form of promotion is what we call personal selling. And personal selling, although it's a form of promotion, operates in a very different way than advertising. And personal selling involves a salesperson specifically that will actually go ahead and communicate one-on-one with potential customers. And so you have one-on-one communication. And this is both positive and negative. If we talk about effectiveness of this particular method, you can argue that this is probably one of the more effective ways of promoting your particular products and services. It is by far the oldest, as well as the most expensive form of sales. And the reason for that is you're paying for cost on a one-on-one basis. And that has certain advantages, but it also has certain disadvantages. So let's look at the advantages first. The first of which is that you have the ability to tailor your message to the person who's actually receiving it. And you can look at things like nonverbal communication. You can assess their needs. You can ask them questions based upon what are their needs, and then essentially offer them different products or services that fit those particular needs. And so by and large, it is probably the most effective form of promotion, but it is very expensive because you're typically paying for the time of one person and your reach is very small. You know, what we do is when we analyze promotional methods, you consider two variables. You're looking at reach, but you're also looking at effectiveness. And ultimately, the larger your reach, generally the less effective your promotional method is because you can't necessarily tailor it to a few people since you're reaching a large audience. Whereas in personal selling, your reach is very small, right? You're reaching maybe 1, 2, 3, maybe a handful of people at the very most. And then ultimately, though, you can tailor your message to those particular individuals. And so we can do what we call qualify people and make sure that they fit the characteristics of people that would have a need for our product or service, and then ultimately develop my pitch, so to speak, in line with ultimately their characteristics and what their needs and desires are. So on a total basis, if you were to look at just the expenditures, maybe personal selling will be less than advertising, but if you go on a per person basis, then personal selling generally is more expensive than simply your advertising and different things of that nature. All right, the next form of promotion is what we call sales promotion. And sales promotion, you're all probably very familiar to. You may not have heard the terminology before, but you've definitely experienced what sales promotion is. And sales promotion involves what we call short-term promotional activities. And what these short-term promotional activities are designed to do is they're designed to encourage an immediate purchase. And that's a very, very important part of this particular method, because we mentioned that there are some advertising methods that are more long-term, that are meant really to inform and may not affect anything in the immediate future. But sales promotion is designed to ultimately have an immediate impact right now. And so some common things for promotional or sales promotional methods include things like coupons, where you're offering the buyer a certain discount, if you will, for purchasing a particular product. You may do things called like offer premiums, which are offering free or reduced price items that are meant to accompany a particular purchase. And so it's very common, for example, the day after Thanksgiving sales, typically if you purchase product XYZ, you might get something for free. And usually that could be something of value or something different, obviously. But it's meant to obviously encourage you to make a immediate purchase now. You know, buy one, get one free, buy two, get one free. Those are all sales promotional methods. And they're designed and very effective for buyers that are in that stage of the consumer decision-making or buying process where they're at a point where they want to make a purchase. And it can be, ultimately they could be thinking about a number of different products that meet that particular need. And the sales promotional method and that form of promotion may serve to have them purchase one product over another. If everything is fairly constant, things are fairly similar, then ultimately the price or the discount or the premium that I get along with that purchase might be enough to deter me from purchasing a product from one company and purchasing it with another. Now, the last form of promotion is what we call publicity and public relations. And I'm going to abbreviate that simply as PR for public relations. And this takes the form of a couple of different things. First off, let's go into what publicity is. Publicity is information about a company, a product, or an event that is simply transmitted by the general mass media as a way of attracting public attention. And so publicity specifically is not controlled by the company. And this can be either good or bad. Right? Publicity, we know, is free because it's produced and provided by the mass media. And so the news outlets in different places will run different events highlighting certain stories, highlighting certain businesses. The unfortunate thing, though, although it is free, you can't necessarily control publicity. You don't have the ability to affect or change what that news outlet or what the media will essentially say about you. And that essentially could be very, very problematic. You know, we've heard of the term that, well, no press is essentially bad press. And although if you're trying to raise awareness about yourself, then that might be true. But to an extent, you can certainly argue that you don't want negative things being said about you or your company, because ultimately that could hurt the perception that people have of you. You know, just take, for example, within the last several years, Taco Bell had the huge issue where there was an allegation that the meat that they used wasn't real beef and it was some other form of, you know, kind of a combination of different things, if you will. And obviously, that wasn't something that was produced by the company because they wouldn't say something that would necessarily affect them negatively. And they had to respond to that, of course. And that's what you'll find is publicity, although it can be positive, it can be negative as well. And it's important that a company responds to those allegations quickly, much as Taco Bell did. They ran a number of different advertisements saying that those were incorrect. They ran different advertisements saying that studies had been done that prove it's, such and such percentage of ground beef or whatever the case was. I don't remember the exact specifics. But they responded to that because publicity that is negative, that does not go noticed or it's not responded to, people generally accept as true if no one says anything to nullify that or to negate that potential issue there. And so that presents not only opportunities, but also presents some significant threats as well. Now, with regards to public relations is influenced by the company. And so here we have the ability to change ultimately what the perception is about our particular company. And so we know that public relations are company influenced, and the purpose is twofold. The first purpose is to build goodwill with the public. And so we want the public to view us as favorable, of course. We definitely want them to perceive us as a socially conscious and environmentally conscious company that does good, positive things and isn't in it simply just for monetary gain. And so that's important. And so companies have public relations departments that are in charge of drafting press releases and sending those to different outlets and are designed to raise awareness about all of the good things that companies do. Just look at websites for a lot of companies. Typically they have a public relations section or an about section, and it's just designed to highlight all of the positive contributions that companies are making. And so once again, we're building goodwill because we as consumers generally want to purchase products from businesses that we somewhat line up with from an ethical standpoint, but we also see that they are giving back to the community and generally having a positive impact. Now, the second event that I referenced that public relations is designed to do is deal with unfavorable events. And there obviously comes a time when bad things take place. And public relations is designed to deal with those maybe unforeseen and unfavorable events. So for example, we know that in the last several years, British Petroleum, commonly referred to as BP, had the Deepwater Horizon disaster where an explosion took place on the Deepwater Horizon oil rig, which is just outside of the Gulf, of course. And then it obviously subsequently caused that Deepwater Horizon oil rig to sink, severing connection with the actual pumps and causing a large, significant number of oil to be pumped into the Gulf, which caused just devastation in that particular area. You have people like fishermen who obviously need the Gulf to provide for their families and things, and they weren't in positions to do so. You had restaurants that were in that area that obviously suffered significantly. And so BP, obviously their public relations department, was in charge of dealing with a very unfavorable event. And so they ran different advertisements on television, which typically showcased employees that were from that particular area. And we're talking about how they were present and how they were dealing with it, and they were committed to that particular area. They were highlighting all of the money they've donated to compensate people that were affected negatively by this particular event. And so they went through a lot of public relations in an attempt to try and not only deal with the unfavorable event, but also build some goodwill so that ultimately consumers viewed them as someone who was, they were responsible for the event, but that they weren't necessarily just leaving it for someone else to handle. They were proactive and they were going out there and trying to make changes. Now, this promotional mix, like I said, encompasses the four areas of advertising, personal selling, sales promotion, and publicity and public relations, pardon me. And companies will use these together in unison as a way of highlighting certain things. And companies don't have to use all of them per se. You don't necessarily need to use personal selling. Maybe that isn't something that you want to specialize in, and it obviously represents a very significant cost because it is more expensive on a per person basis. But companies can utilize each of these in varying degrees as a way ultimately of promoting and communicating information about their products and services to consumers. And so typically we don't resort to simply just one or the other. Usually we use a number of these, obviously, to enhance our promotional effectiveness, if you will, but these are some of the elements that ultimately you'll see companies key in on.
Okay, so if those of you that have read the chapter already should recognize all those points. As I've told you from the beginning, whether it's in marketing in healthcare or marketing in, selling Rolls Royces or whatever it happens to be, the marketing principles are the same. And I can kind of bring this home to you a little bit on what those 4 things he was talking about. About a few years ago, I don't know, probably more than a few, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, one of the VAs back east somewhere got horrible PR was out there about it. People were not able to get appointments. They were dying before they got an appointment, and it was just really, really bad. And it really adversely affected all the VAs, because even though it was just that one that was being operated very poorly, the brunt of it fell on, well, it must be all the VAs, So they had to hire special companies to rebuild their reputation. And they did things like there were ads on TV that showed how happy people were with the VA. And, they'd interview real patients, the ones that had actually had really good experience with the VA and the whole works. But it took a tremendous amount of money and effort to overcome that horrible PR that one particular VA caused to ripple through the whole system. So no matter where you're working, whether it's a hospital or, any kind of agency, healthcare, it doesn't matter. It is possible for you to get sucked into some really bad PR. And as you look at it, when you look at the different types of PR, I can give you an example of the publicity. When I taught junior high, the principal was always laughing because he said I always had the news people out there, because our junior high was in a really bad part of town. It was really, really a tough school. And anything they did that was good, man, I had the radio, the newspaper, whoever I could get to come out, I got them to come out. And, but the problem with it was that if I took a chance, because if they came out to take, like for instance, my class collected more canned goods for Christmas for the food pantry than any other class in the entire school system. And but I took a chance by having them come out to the class, because something horrible could have happened somewhere else in the school, and that's what they would have covered, not my class that did good. So you always took a chance. But so publicity is great because it's free, but you're not always able to control it. Another thing you have to look at is the credibility of the person who is doing your ads or your advertisements or whatever it happens to be. And an example of that would be Bill Cosby. He used to advertise Jell-O and Coca-Cola, a lot of family products. And boy, he got into all that trouble, and man, they zapped all those commercials. They were gone. And then they had to do damage control because they didn't want that image associated with their product. So, it's kind of a can of worms that you open sometimes. You have to be really, really careful. Okay, do I have any questions on any of the points in the video? Okay, all right, just a second. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to show you this worksheet we're going to be working on. Let me see if I can share it. I hope it's still here on somewhere. No, it's not. All right, give me a second, folks. Okay, let's try this again. Here we go. Okay, this is the worksheet that I'm going to put up in the chat room or in the chat thing so y'all can get it. And I'll also email it in case some of you don't see it. Some of the students are having trouble seeing it in the chat box. But what you're going to do is, these are the 3 websites, home websites of these 3 ice creams. Now most of you have probably tried Bluebell and have probably tried Ben and Jerry's, but remove that from your mind. And what you're going to do is answer these questions as a group. It's going to be one to a group, and there'll be a recorder or secretary, whatever you want to call it, that'll be putting the answers down in your group for these various questions. For instance, the description of the product for Bluebell, Mayfield, and Ben and Jerry's, it just kind of briefly say if you think it's good, they did a good job, or what it is, you know, like the packaging. Did they do a good job on the packaging? And so basically you're going to answer these, you're going to fill in these points, and y'all can spread it among yourselves in the group so that you have time to do them all. And then at the end of the time, I'm going to give y'all about 30 minutes. And at the end of the time, I want your group to decide which of these ice creams that you would choose to purchase based on the website, not on the fact that maybe you had Bluebell ice cream and you really liked it. You know, Bluebell is made right down just about 100 miles from where I'm from. But, you know, there's some beautiful cows out there from the pastures, really kind of pretty to drive through. But anyway, you're going to base it on the website alone, because I want you to have an experience in looking at a website and seeing all the things that are important when you put it on your website. I mean, you won't be talking about ice cream, but you'll be talking about other things on your whatever company you're working for, and what the consumer looks at it and how it affects the consumer. So then at the end of this little run you're going to do, you're going to choose one of them, and then we're going to come back together as a group, and each group is going to have a spokesperson, and they're going to say which one they chose and why. Everybody got it? Understand? Hope so. I don't hear questions. Okay, thank you. All right, so let me put it, first I'll put it in here. Then I've got something else you're gonna do while you're in your group. Give me 1 second. Nope, wrong one, okay. Oh shoot, I've gotta close the file, hang on. I always forget to do that. Try it again. Okay, and I'll also send it by way of email. Now, the first thing I want you to do though, when you go into, I'm gonna let y'all self-select into your groups like we've done before. And the first thing I want you to do is decide when you wanna make your presentation. And you're gonna email me as soon as your group decides, and we're gonna do it the last 2 classes. Just put the first Tuesday or the second Tuesday. And if you wanna go first, like put first Tuesday, first group, second group, third group, or second Tuesday, first group, second group. And it's going to be a first come, first serve. So as they come into my email, the ones who get there first get their first choices. So try to make a decision pretty quickly. Okay, do I have any questions on what your assignment is? And then I'm going to give you about 30 minutes, and I'm going to bring y'all back into the master room. Are we good?
Yes, Professor.
Okay, thank you, Samantha. All right. Okay, so before I forget to tell you, I've got 2 things before we get started on this. First thing is, remember you have an extra credit opportunity on Thursday. It should be really interesting. A lady talking about a day in the life of a chief nurse. And that's at, I think, 3 to 4, and I sent y'all that link a couple of days ago. And second thing I need to tell you is, so I don't forget, is that if one person in the group finishes up this worksheet and turns it into me by noon tomorrow, then the whole group that was here today will get 2 points extra credit. But just one person out of each group needs to turn in, so y'all decide who, if y'all are going to do it. Okay, let me see. Group 1, which ice cream did y'all decide you would like to try based on the website? Group 1, are you there?
Sorry, we are. We actually didn't discuss it.
Oh.
We were just trying to get everything down, to be honest.
Okay. All right. Well, just based on what y'all talked about, do you have an opinion?
Let me see. Personally, I would like to try Bluebell.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's the Texas ice cream, you know, so. Okay. All right. Well, we'll move on to the next group then. Thank you. Group 2, did y'all have an opinion as to which one that you would try based on the website and why?
I think we all decided on Ben and Jerry's.
And was there a reason, a particular reason?
I mean, besides the fact that we all like it. No, I think it has a lot more flavors than the others.
Okay.
So more variety.
Did you like their website better?
We did. I think it was more or less, it wasn't just the flavors, but it's also because we're so familiar with it too.
Correct. Yeah. I'll tell y'all a little, I can't remember if I told this class the other one, but Ben and Jerry's ice cream was actually the people that started it went to Penn State to the creamery. The creamery at Penn State is really well known around anybody that's ever been to Penn State. And they were actually trained on how to make their ice cream at Penn State. So next time y'all see Dr. Lawrence around, who is an alumnus of Penn State, just say, hey, we like your ice cream. So, because Penn State has this wonderful creamery on campus, and they have ice cream that's named like, well, I'm sure it's not there anymore, but Peachy Paterno. And as y'all know, he was the one that he was a coach that had been there for like 100 years. And he got in some trouble, his coaching staff and stuff. So I'm sure that ice cream is gone, but it's a very unique creamery there at Penn State. Okay, group 3.
We decided on Ben and Jerry's as well.
Okay, and is there a reason, Han?
The reason being is that like group 2 has stated that they have a lot more flavors, but then they also offer more products besides ice cream. So they have like dessert for like your pets, for your dogs. So I thought that was really interesting.
And they ship also, I think.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. Okay. All right. How about group 4?
Hi, Professor. Yes, we're group 4 and we chose Ben and Jerry's as well. Just like group 3, we love the fact that they provide dog treats. They also do a lot of dairy-free and gluten-free options. Also, we found it very captivating that they had a ice cream graveyard or flavors graveyard. So any flavor that they do not produce or discontinued for any reason, it has a cute little photo, a video of it, and it's a really cute memorial. So we like
yeah, that's good. Sounds like they put a lot of work into their website.
Yes, they did.
Okay, super. Thank you. Group 5.
Yeah, so we chose Mayfield because they have like milk and creamer, which that they use for their ice cream and stuff, and also they had seasonal flavors, which we thought was interesting.
You know, they're hard to get. You know, I've had it because I've been back east, but it is a very good ice cream. You made a good choice. And they do use like whipping cream in it. I mean, that stuff is so rich. It's unbelievable, but it's so good. So if you ever get to go back east and get a chance, try it because it is really good ice cream. Okay. All right. Well, y'all did a good job. Thumbs up. Did y'all enjoy this little exercise, kind of put together everything we've done the last few weeks?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, super. All right. All right, well, it's 8:21 and I've got everything, I've done everything. I just want to remind y'all about the extra credit opportunity on Thursday, the extra credit opportunity to do this, if you want to finish out this worksheet and send it to me by email. I haven't decided, I don't know if I'm going to give extra credit for it, but next week, there's going to be another topic, but it's not being put on by the UPD and HSF. It's being put on by the college, and it's with Dr. Kamir and his brother. He's the chair for health science, and they're very well known internationally. He and his brother, they actually went to jail for trying to deliver. They're both doctors, I believe, for trying to deliver health care to different populations that were considered undesirable where they were at. But anyway, I think it ought to be, I don't know the whole story, but I think it would be a really interesting lecture. And that is next, the 20th, whenever that is. And I'll send y'all some information. If I can figure out a way to figure out who's there, I'll give extra credit for that too. I'll let y'all know. I don't have control over it like I do the other ones though. Okay, are we good? Any questions?
Yes, Professor, I had a question. For our presentation, and the syllabus, you said that any information that we should have or important information from our proposal should be on the PowerPoint. I know you specifically probably don't want us to go in detail about how our billings are. So what do you want on our presentations? Like, of course, our mission, vision, and values, but what else specifically from the proposal?
Okay, you can show your the balance sheet, but you don't have to go over it in particular. You know, like show it on there, but then talk about just the main things, you know, like the money that your estimated money that came in, estimated expenditures, not over each individual thing.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. All righty.
Yeah, a little bit of everything. And remember to look at the syllabus to be sure that you don't forget anything. Like there's the that we haven't talked too much about, the needs assessment, and then you will have already turned in the flow chart. That already got turned in. But there's a couple of other things you have to, I can't remember off the top of my head. Be sure you check the list in the syllabus so you be sure and get everything into that PowerPoint.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions? Okay, all right, well, y'all have a good week. I will have the class open next Tuesday night, but you are not required to come. So if y'all want to come, if you have any questions you've run across this weekend and y'all want to come, that's fine. Or you can call me, email me, text me, but I will keep the class open for about 15 minutes. If nobody shows up, then I'll shut it down. Okay, y'all have a good week.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Professor.
Thank you,
Professor.
Professor.
Thank you, Professor.
I actually had a really off-topic question for you.
I love off-topic questions. Shoot.
Did you say that you were teaching 417 next semester for fall?
Not in the fall. I teach it in the summer and it's not writing intensive. I teach it in the winter and it will be writing intensive.
Oh boy. Okay.
I only teach 417 in the summer and winter. I don't teach it during the school year.
Gotcha. Do you know if it's gonna be like hard?
You mean for the winter?
Yeah, because it's like a 3-week class.
No, it's actually going to be longer this time because what we've done in the past with the 417 and 457 is started in January and finished it, you know, like 2 weeks later. This time it's going to start like, I want to say December 25th December 22nd or something like that, and won't end until the middle of January. So it'll be about at least 4 weeks.
Okay. Okay, I have a lot to consider. Thank you.
Well, just remember, I'm pretty easygoing, so
Yeah.
don't get too stressed out about it, because I will be the instructor.
Yes, that's why I was hoping you were going to do fall, but
Yeah, I don't teach it in the fall.
that's okay. Thank you, though.
Okay, you bet.
Have a good night.
You too.